Good morning again, class. That is grade 11, Future Minds Bootcamp, Maths, Physics, Agriculture, Life Sciences, Accounting, Economics, as well as AI skills. For some of you who have gone through the first presentation, that was the previous Saturday, you have seen how that goes about. So this is intended to building digital skills today and shaping tomorrow as graduates. And myself, I'm Dr. Mkhombo, and then I'll be presenting grade 11 life sciences, whereby the lessons that are put together there will be life processes in plants as well as in animals. I'll just show the next slide there. Yeah, my second slide, that is animal nutrition, mammals, more specifically. Animal nutrition in grade 11 focuses on understanding how animals obtain and utilize nutrients for various bodily functions. So key topics include different types of animal nutrition, the processes involved in nutrition, that could be ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, as well as egestion, which is the removal of unwanted waste. The types of teeth in different animals, how they are structured is different, as you see in herbivores, carnivores, as well as omnivores. The structure and function of the digestive system. Herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores have different dentition because of their different diets and lifestyles. So we can summarize animal nutrition in that flow diagram, where we can have the definition. We have human nutrition, and we have nutritional processes, absorption, homeostatic control, as well as alcohol and drug abuse there. We also touch on malnutrition as well as overnutrition. So your learning outcomes will mean that at the end of this lesson, you should be able to know the difference in dentition of herbivores, carnivores, as well as omnivores lifestyles. Understand the microstructure of the alimentary canal and associated organs and functions. Know the processes of ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. So we shall start with human nutrition. Humans have two-ended or two opening type of a digestive tract or alimentary canal, which is the mouth and as well as the anus. It is open at the mouth and it is open at the anus. So that is what we call two opening or two-ended digestive system. The digestive system can be divided into tubular alimentary canal as well as accessory organs like the pancreas, liver, and so on and so on. Each section of the human digestive tract is very specialized. Each performs its own function as intended there. So here is a simplified diagram of the human digestive system. There we can see the mouth, that is the opening at the anterior end, and then the anus there, that is the opening at the posterior end. That's why we call it a two-end or two-opening the alimentary canal. And then the accessory organs there include the salivary glands, the esophagus, the liver, the gallbladder, the stomach, pancreas, the intestine, appendix, as well as the rectum. So this system operate together in order to make sure that humans acquire their nutrients for all the living processes. The processes that are involved in the movement of food through the digestive system are as follows there. The following process takes place during digestion in humans. Ingestion, that is the intake of food through the mouth. And then we have digestion. Once they move, the food is inside the mouth, it has to be mechanically or chemically break down. So in the mouth, we have the teeth, and then in the stomach, we have the gastric acid, and further in the intestine, we have enzymes that are used to further digest the food that has been eaten. Once digestion is completed, there is absorption, which is the diffusion of simple food molecules through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream. Also, we have assimilation, which is the incorporation of nutrients such as amino acids and glucose into the cell. Finally, there's egestion or defecation, whereby it is the removal of undigested and unabsorbed waste from the body through the anus in the form of feces. We further have mechanical digestion, which is the process of breaking down food using the teeth to break up and chew the food down. Chemical digestion is the process by which the different nutrients are broken down to their constituent parts by the use of enzymes, which are biological catalysts. Also, we have the small intestines. Is that part of the alimentary canal, as we've seen in the previous slides, where most digested food is absorbed. Assimilation is the process of digestion in which glucose and amino acids are incorporated into cells. The liver is an important in assimilation because it is here that amino acids are deaminated, whereby there are enzymes responsible for the removal of the amino group in amino acids. That's what we call deamination. The liver also important in glucose metabolism and the breakdown of alcohol and some drugs, as well as some hormones. We also have homeostatic control, which is the maintenance of internal stability and constancy in a living organism. So here we're going to talk about the homeostatic control of glucose level in the blood. The pancreas responds to the amount of glucose in the blood when the blood glucose level is high, as we shall see in the following diagram. The pancreas secretes insulin. Insulin is a hormone which stimulates the liver to convert the excess glucose into glycogen for storage. This process lowers the glucose levels in the blood, and therefore the levels of glucose in the blood will return back to normal range. When the blood glucose level, however, is too low, the pancreas again secretes the hormone, which is antagonistic to that of insulin, which is known as glucagon. This stimulates the liver to convert the stored glycogen into glucose, which it is then absorbed into the bloodstream, again raising the glucose level in the blood and returning back to normal. So these processes work hand in hand in order to maintain glucose homeostasis. Diabetes, or sometimes known as diabetes mellitus, is a hormonal or endocrine condition in which the body is either not producing insulin, which we term it type 1 diabetes, or the body cannot respond to the commands of insulin that is being produced. That's what we call insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. So this is the homeostatic control of glucose in the blood, the regulation of glucose in the blood. As you can see, the blood glucose normal range there is between 4 to around 7.8 millimole per liter. So if blood glucose happen to rise, like after you have eaten, after meals, the blood glucose increases, and therefore insulin will be released by the pancreas. Once the insulin is released by the pancreas, the glucose enters the cell and increases metabolism. The glucose that is not used, it is then stored in the liver as glycogen. And therefore, upon that process, blood glucose level will fall and return to normal. Otherwise, blood glucose level are low. Therefore, glucagon will be released from the pancreas. Glycogen will be broken down into glucose, and the glucose released into the blood from the liver. As the processes continue, blood glucose level rises, and then it goes to normal levels there. So that's how blood glucose is regulated in the blood. So the relationship between food intake and health. Ingested food is the source of energy and nutrients for humans and all mammals. A balanced diet is one that contains all the food groups: proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, which are available in the correct balance or proportion. Different religious groups, however, have different dietary laws. For example, there are other groups who don't eat animal products, such as meat. So dietary supplements are useful only to people who have genuine dietary deficiencies, like those that are as a result of inborn errors of metabolism. Malnutrition, it can be either undernutrition or overnutrition. Kwashiorkor is an example of a nutritional disease caused by undernutrition, which is a lack of protein and energy in the diet. Tooth decay, in the other hand, is caused by a build-up of plaque in the mouth, which is common in diets that are high in carbohydrates. So the bacteria that metabolize the carbohydrates in around the teeth destroy the enamel of the teeth and therefore contributes to tooth decay. So this is a summary of some of the nutritional disorders, just like I've summarized with Kwashiorkor. The cause is high intake of carbohydrate, but insufficient protein taken. And then this is seen in many children there. So which means now it's a pediatric disease where most children are starved of proteins when they are given a large amount of carbohydrate, which is in the form of samp or porridge. And then the symptoms that are seen there, you'll see a swollen belly, stick-like arms and legs, sores on the skin, swollen face like a moon face, and poor brain development. So that's one disorder, nutritional disorder there. The other one is marasmus. The cause of marasmus is lack of foods of all groups. So this is a complete deficiency in food. So one will have widened face with deep set eyes and tight skin, with poor muscle development and little or no subcutaneous fat. So those are the symptoms of marasmus. We also have another nutritional disorder known as anorexia nervosa. This is rather a psychological type of a disorder in which the people refuse to eat because of an abnormal body image and fear of becoming overweight. So it's a psychological condition rather than a condition that is caused by a physical leakage of food or nutrients. The people appear skeletally thin and may die if continues to refuse food. So that's what we call anorexia nervosa. The cause is psychological, and therefore it may show symptoms that are related or similar to those of people who are in severe starvation. So we also have another eating disorder, which is a bulimia nervosa. Again, it's another eating disorder, and also it can be psychological or medical. The food is available and often well nourished, but due to habitual vomiting after meals and often after binging or high energy food. So the person, even after the food has been eaten, they regurgitate or vomit the food there. So which means there will be less food that is taken for digestion and absorption. So one is denying himself food. Symptoms may have normal body weight. Chronic bulimia causes tooth erosion because of constant vomiting of the acid from the stomach contents. We also have another nutritional disorder, that is overnutrition, which results in a condition known as obesity. Obesity results in excess intake of high energy food, usually carbohydrate. So those carbohydrates, they are converted into fat and stored because a person is not active to use those carbohydrates, because carbohydrates are energy food. They use to produce energy. So persons with body weight of more than 20% higher than the average person of the same sex and height will experience the same condition. That is what is determined by what we call body mass index. So body mass index determines as whether a person is obese or normal in terms of weight. So we also have alcohol and drug abuse. Alcohol and drugs, they are not nutrients at all. So we're not going to take them as food or nutrients or something that can be used for nutrition. No, alcohol and other drugs of abuse cause serious damage to the body, more especially the liver and the nervous system, and are generally addictive, which means now you will be required to support that habit all the time, which can have serious economic as well as social consequences. Secondly, we have seen how animals use food to gain energy and therefore to follow the process of nutrition. And now we come to another process, which what we call cellular respiration. And cellular respiration, there we have aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, and as well as the comparison between aerobic as well as anaerobic respiration. So cellular respiration, it entitles things like cellular respiration take place in all parts, on all plants and animal cells, and it is the process by which energy is made available to cells. Cellular respiration involves a series of chemical reactions within the cells. The chemical reactions trap or capture energy in molecules of adenosine triphosphate. This is the same energy that was produced through photosynthesis. So it is flowing from plants or producers to consumers or heterotrophic organisms, or that's what we call consumers there. This process may be shown by the following word equation, which is glucose plus oxygen. We have their formula there, their chemical formula, which result in carbon dioxide, which is CO2, water, plus energy. That energy can be in the form of heat or in the form of chemical ATP. That is what is done during cellular respiration. So we also have aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration consists of 3 stages when oxygen is available. So aerobic respiration is a type of reaction where oxygen is required to take place. These stages are known as the glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, as well as the oxidative phosphorylation reaction or electron transport system. Glycolysis takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell, that is outside the mitochondria. And this process does not require oxygen. There is no need for molecular oxygen. So during glycolysis, the fuel, glucose molecules, is activated or phosphorylated. This activated glucose molecule undergoes a series of enzyme control steps to form 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. In the process, energy is released to form ATP. The pyruvic acid can then enter into aerobic reactions and anaerobic fermentation reaction, depending on whether oxygen is present or not. Or it can also depend on the needs of the cell itself or the type of the cell. So most aerobic respirations take place in the mitochondria of the cell, and most organisms use aerobic respiration and so are dependent on oxygen. Like us humans, we depend on oxygen to keep us alive. So aerobic as well as anaerobic respiration, how they counter act with each other. Aerobic respiration involves the processes of glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, as well as oxidative phosphorylation. And anaerobic respiration is respiration in the absence of oxygen. It involves an additional process in glycolysis in which pyruvate is converted to carbon dioxide and alcohol in plants, and to lactic acid in animals in the absence of oxygen. So there is a simplified sketch of how glycolysis come about. We can see that from glucose, glycolysis means splitting of glucose. Lysis means to split. Glyco means glucose. So if you know that glucose has got 6 carbon atoms, so if it is split, we'll have 3 carbon atom molecules, which means in this case we'll have 2 pyruvic acids, and 2 ATPs are made in that regard. That what we call substrate level phosphorylation. So once the 2 pyruvic acids are formed, the pyruvic acid may be used in anaerobic respiration, whereby there is no oxygen available, and this will result in 2 lactic acid molecules. Otherwise, if oxygen is available, the pyruvic acid enters the mitochondria, whereby it is metabolized into carbon dioxide, water, as well as the yield of 86 ATP molecules, which is energy there. Moving forward, the role of anaerobic respiration in industry. So aerobic respiration has got a very important industrial application. Aerobic respiration is also called fermentation. This process of fermentation is important in brewery, where they manufacture alcohol, as well as in baking of bread in bakeries. So this is what we call anaerobic respiration. So aerobic respiration produces large quantities of energy as compared to anaerobic respiration, which produces small quantity of energy there. Moving forward, I think that was my last slide. Then I will call. Thank you for having been so generous in giving yourself time to come and join us in this presentation. So thank you very much again, and goodbye.